Mornings were always a quiet routine for me. Coffee, shower, tie, out the door. I liked knowing how the day would start. It gave me a sense of control, something steady to hold on to before stepping into the chaos of the world outside. That morning wasn't supposed to be any different. The sun hadn't fully come up yet, and the only sound in the house was the familiar hum of the dryer running its last cycle. I was sipping the last bit of coffee from my chipped favorite mug and heading to the laundry room to grab the shirt I'd left hanging the night before. Job interview day. Not for me. Kelly had one at some marketing agency uptown, and she wanted me to look over her resume one last time before we both left for work. But when I stepped into the laundry room, I stopped cold. There it was, spread out neatly across the ironing board. A white button-down shirt I'd never seen before, perfectly pressed, folded with care. The fabric had that kind of sheen that came with quality, the kind you'd expect from something bought in a boutique, not on sale at a department store. And it wasn't mine. I don't mean I didn't remember buying it. I mean it literally didn't belong to me. I don't wear shirts like that. Different brand, different cut, a size too small. The sleeves were shorter, the collar more narrow. I picked it up carefully, like I was holding a piece of evidence. The label said some Italian name I didn't recognize, and the shirt, God, the shirt smelled like cologne. Not mine. Something stronger, expensive, clean and woody, the kind you notice right away when someone walks past you at a party. It smelled like another man. I stared at it, frozen in place. My brain started racing, first trying to make sense of it, then trying to talk myself down. Okay, maybe it's a mistake. Maybe it's something she borrowed for a project. Maybe it's a friend's. But none of those thoughts stuck for more than a few seconds. Then Kelly walked in. She was still tying her hair into a ponytail, holding a makeup brush in one hand, looking relaxed, almost humming. She saw me standing there, shirt in hand, and didn't flinch. "Oh yeah, that," she said, stepping around me to grab the lint roller from the shelf. "I think that might be my brother's. He left some stuff when he crashed here last month." My eyes didn't leave her face. She didn't look caught, didn't look confused, just ready. That's what threw me off. That instant calmness, like she already had the answer in her pocket. "Your brother wears this brand?" I asked, flipping the tag toward her. She shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe it got mixed up with someone else's stuff in the utility room. You know, when I did laundry last week. A few of the machines were full and I had to move bags around." She was saying it casually, breezily, like this was normal. Like finding a stranger's expensive shirt in your home was just another Tuesday. But I knew Kelly. She's not breezy. Not when it comes to details. She triple checks everything: restaurant reservations, credit card charges, receipts. She's meticulous. And yet, here she was, offering two entirely different explanations without batting an eye. Her brother, the laundry room, take your pick. That's when I felt it, this dull, heavy drop in my gut. Not because I had proof of anything. Not yet. But because I knew her. And that smile she gave me. The one that didn't quite reach her eyes. That wasn't hers. That was something she put on. I didn't say anything. I just nodded and laid the shirt back down. But something in me had shifted, quietly and permanently. I went through the rest of the morning on autopilot. Finished my coffee. Helped her with the printer. Kissed her on the cheek before we each walked out the door. But the kiss felt different now, like it didn't land right. Like I was kissing a stranger pretending to be my wife. The entire drive to work, I replayed the conversation in my head. The way she walked in. Her tone. Her answers. The order she gave them in. That slight pause when I asked about the size. Her breathing didn't even change. Most people, if they were caught off guard by something weird, something that shouldn't be there, would have at least blinked. But Kelly was composed. Too composed. That's what scared me. Later that night, I brought it up again. Casually. Or at least, I tried to sound casual. We were on the couch watching a rerun of The Office, and I asked, "Hey, did your brother ever text back about that shirt?" She didn't even look up from her phone. "What shirt?" I swallowed. "The one from this morning. The white one. You said it was probably his?" "Oh yeah. He hasn't answered yet. she said, tapping away at her screen. You know how he is. He never checks his messages. That would have made sense. Except her brother is always online. He's one of those guys who texts in memes and reacts to your messages with GIFs. I'd seen her laugh at his stuff while sitting right next to me. He's not the unreachable type. Still, I said nothing. I let it go on the outside. But inside, my thoughts wouldn't stop racing. Was I crazy? Was I reading into nothing? Was this really just a shirt? Or was it a signal? One that had been there the whole time and I had just been too blind to notice? I remembered how, a few weeks ago, I came home early and she jumped a little when I opened the door. She'd said she wasn't expecting me yet and laughed it off. I thought she was just startled. Or that time she said she was going to her friend Marcy's for the weekend. But I found out later Marcy had moved to Seattle. She said she forgot. I let it slide. And the new perfume she started wearing. The one I didn't recognize. When I asked, she said she'd gotten a sample from work. I didn't think anything of it then. But now I felt like I was retracing footsteps that had always been there. Faint, buried beneath everyday noise. But now, suddenly, clear as day. I couldn't prove anything. I didn't even know what I wanted to prove. I didn't want to believe that Kelly, my Kelly, could be hiding something from me. But the seed had been planted, and there was no going back. That shirt sat in the back of my mind for the rest of the week. Every time she smiled at me, I wondered if it was the same smile she used with someone else. Every time she laughed at her phone, I wondered who was on the other side of the screen. Every time she told me she'd be home late, I started looking at the clock differently. And it all started with that shirt. That perfectly pressed, cologne-scented, too small shirt that didn't belong in our house. I wish I could tell you I let it go. That I chalked the shirt up to some mix-up, folded it neatly into a drawer, and moved on with my life. But that's not what happened. Instead, I started paying attention. Not just the kind of attention you give when something's bothering you, but the obsessive kind. The kind that loops in your head while you're brushing your teeth, driving to work, lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling while the person next to you sleeps peacefully, or pretends to. That week, everything about Kelly felt different. Not because she changed overnight, but because now, I saw things clearly. The patterns I'd ignored, the red flags I'd dismissed. They were all there. They had been. I just hadn't wanted to connect the dots before. But once that switch flipped, I couldn't unsee it. For the past couple of months, Kelly had started staying later at work. New meetings, she called them. Her job had shifted around a lot recently, new management, new responsibilities. I believed her at first. Why wouldn't I? People get promoted. Workloads shift. I figured it was just part of the process. But those meetings always happened after 5. Sometimes she'd come home at 8, other times 9. And every time, she'd walk through the door looking more energized than exhausted. Not the usual, ugh, work was insane, but more like, sorry I'm late, followed by a breezy kiss and a quick change of clothes. And it hit me, those nights, she always showered. Even if it was late. Even if she said she just wanted to sleep. At the time, I thought nothing of it. Now, it screamed of something I didn't want to say out loud. Then there was her laptop. Kelly used to work from the kitchen table, sipping tea and playing acoustic playlists in the background while clicking through spreadsheets and emails. It used to be a comfort. Just the rhythm of her typing while I read a book or scrolled through my phone beside her. But lately, that changed. She started working in the guest room. With the door closed. If I walked in without knocking, she'd jump, close her screen fast, too fast, and then smile like I had just interrupted something confidential. She said the new office policy involved stricter client privacy. She even printed a fake NDA once and waved it at me when I asked too many questions. And I laughed. I actually laughed. Like that was normal. Like spouses hiding things behind NDAs was just a quirky part of being married in the modern world. But that wasn't even the worst of it. She stopped wearing her wedding ring. I noticed it one morning while we were both brushing our teeth. Her left hand reached for the towel and it was bare. At first, I assumed she had just taken it off for cleaning. She'd done that before. But it didn't come back. I asked once. She said something vague about office branding and how they were trying to keep things neutral and less personal for a professional image. Some nonsense about a new team culture, how everyone was dialing back flashy accessories. But that ring was simple. A plain band. Not flashy. Not even gold, it was brushed silver. It was subtle. But it meant something. It was ours. And now it was gone. I stopped asking after that. But every time she left the house without it, it was like another little crack in something I used to believe was solid. Then came the phone. She'd never been secretive about her phone before. We weren't the couple that snooped. I never had the urge to go through her messages because I trusted her. And honestly, I never had a reason not to. But now, she started tilting the screen away from me. Not just when texting, but always. Scrolling. Reading. Even typing in reminders. If I sat next to her, she'd suddenly need to check something upstairs. Or she'd just lock the screen, set it face down, and shift the conversation. Once, I caught a glimpse of a message notification. It was a number I didn't recognize. No name, just a string of digits. She swiped it away so fast you'd think it was a bomb. I didn't say anything then either. I just noted the time, 9:47 p.m., and remembered the way she didn't smile for the rest of the night. And maybe that would have been it. Maybe I would have just kept collecting these little moments like someone collecting rain in a jar. Tiny, unremarkable drops that, one by one, didn't matter until you stepped back and realized the jar was full. That weekend, she told me she'd be visiting a friend out of town. Marissa, she said. Remember her? From college. She just moved back for a bit, had a baby. I told her I'd bring her some of those cookies she likes. I nodded, smiled, kissed her goodbye, watched her walk out with a tote bag and the kind of dress you don't wear to a new mom's house. After she left, I looked up Marissa on Facebook. She lived in Oregon. We were in Georgia, and she had moved there 2 months ago. I stared at my screen, then slowly set my phone down. It was then that something clicked in my brain, like a puzzle snapping into place. All the things that felt off before now lined up with surgical precision. Her meetings, her emotional distance, her phone secrecy, the shirt. I went back into the laundry room later that day. The shirt was still there, folded neatly on top of the dryer now. I picked it up again like I was hoping to see something I'd missed before. Maybe a name tag, a laundry receipt, something that would disprove every thought I didn't want to believe. But there was nothing, just that scent. Faint but still there. That night I didn't sleep. I lay next to her, the room lit only by the moonlight slicing through the blinds. She was already asleep, or pretending to be. Her back to me, breathing steady, peaceful. I watched her for a long time, not out of anger, not out of suspicion even, but out of loss, because I realized I didn't know who I was lying next to anymore. The woman I'd loved for almost a decade was still there physically. Same laugh, same soft skin, same favorite mug on the counter, but emotionally, she was gone. And maybe the worst part wasn't that I suspected something was happening behind my back. The worst part was that I wasn't even surprised anymore. The universe has a cruel sense of timing. If there's a moment you're not ready for, that's exactly when it decides to hand you the truth. No warning, no mercy. A week after everything in my head had quietly fallen apart, I had a business meeting scheduled downtown. One of those stiff, neutral ones with potential partners. Polite smiles, coffee that tastes like cardboard, conversations that mean everything and nothing at the same time. The meeting was being held at a hotel that catered almost exclusively to conferences. I'd been there before. Kelly and I had celebrated an anniversary there once, years ago, when things still felt easy. I arrived early like I always do. Habit. Control. The illusion of it, at least. The lobby was quiet, that soft, echoing kind of quiet hotels have in the middle of the day. I walked toward the lounge area to review my notes, already mentally preparing for small talk and forced enthusiasm. That's when I saw her. At first, my brain rejected it. Just flat out refused. I remember thinking, that looks like Kelly. Like my mind was offering an option instead of a conclusion. But it was her. She was sitting on one of the low couches near the bar, angled toward a man I didn't recognize. They were close. Too close for coworkers. Too close for coincidence. Her body language told the story before anything else could. She was relaxed, open, smiling in a way I hadn't seen directed at me in months. The man leaned in to say something, and she laughed, soft, familiar and asterisk mate. The sound hit me harder than anything else, because that laugh used to be mine. I stood there, frozen, my briefcase suddenly heavy in my hand. They ordered drinks, cocktails. Middle of the afternoon. I watched her tuck her hair behind her ear, a gesture I knew better than my own signature. And then he kissed her neck. Not dramatically, not hurried, just casually, like it was normal, like they'd done it before. My chest didn't tighten. My heart didn't race. There was no cinematic explosion of rage or heartbreak. There was just silence. Something inside me went quiet, like a switch being flipped off. She didn't see me, or maybe she did and didn't expect me to be there. Either way, it didn't matter. I didn't approach them. I didn't confront her. I didn't raise my voice or demand answers. I turned around and walked out. The automatic doors slid open, letting in the outside noise of traffic and city life, and it felt unreal how normal everything still was. People walked past me, talking on their phones, laughing, living. Meanwhile, something foundational in my life had just collapsed without a sound. I got into my car and sat there for a long time. I didn't start the engine. I didn't check my phone. I just stared at the steering wheel and waited for the emotions to come. They didn't. No anger, no tears, no shaking hands, just emptiness. And beneath that emptiness, relief. That scared me more than anything else. Because relief meant I'd already been grieving something long before I saw proof it was dead. I drove aimlessly for a while after that. Took streets I didn't recognize. Let traffic lights decide my direction. Eventually, without really thinking about it, I pulled into the parking lot of another hotel. Not the one from the meeting. A different one. Anonymous. Clean. Temporary. I booked a room. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I sat on the edge of the bed in that unfamiliar room, suit jacket draped over a chair, shoes still on, and I let myself finally think clearly. I replayed everything. Not with denial, not with hope, but with brutal honesty. The shirt, the lies that came too easily, the emotional distance, the missing ring, the weekends away, the way she stopped reacting to me altogether. Not angry, not annoyed, just indifferent. I realized then that the affair wasn't the ending. It was just the confirmation. Whatever we had, it had already ended quietly, slowly, while I was still standing inside it, trying to hold it together. At some point, my phone buzzed. A message from Kelly. Hey, where are you? I stared at it for a long time. Then another. You didn't come home. I turned the phone face down. I wasn't ready to talk. Not because I needed time to calm down, but because there was nothing left to say. That night, lying alone in a bed that didn't smell like her shampoo or familiarity, I understood something with perfect clarity. The moment I saw her with him, I didn't lose my wife. I lost the illusion that she still was one. And once that illusion was gone, there was no anger left to fuel a confrontation. No need to demand explanations that wouldn't change the outcome. Whatever conversation was supposed to happen between us had already missed its moment. I fell asleep sometime near dawn, not exhausted, but resolved. By the time morning came, I knew exactly what I was going to do next. Not out of spite, not out of revenge, but because whatever came after this had to be built on truth. And that truth had finally stepped out of hiding. The thing they never tell you about betrayal is that the hurt doesn't always hit like thunder. Sometimes it's quiet, clinical, a slow realization that doesn't knock you down, but instead rearranges you from the inside. That's what happened to me. After I saw Kelly at the hotel with that man, the man who kissed her like he had every right to, I didn't confront her. I didn't call her out, didn't storm in, didn't even flinch. I walked away because I finally understood. The damage had already been done. And more importantly, I had nothing left to salvage. But walking away wasn't the end. It was the beginning. That night, in the sterile, anonymous calm of a mid-range hotel room, I made a decision. I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to spiral. I was going to calculate. Kelly and I had built a life together, or at least that's what I thought we were doing. But in hindsight, I'd been the one holding it up. For years, I had tolerated her cold jabs masked as jokes. I'd overlooked the way she made me feel small in front of friends, or how she dismissed the things I cared about with an eye roll and a sigh. I had worked overtime to give us a better future, while she treated my effort like background noise. And yet I stayed loyal. I stayed committed. I stayed. Until now. Because now I wasn't angry, I was free. And silence? Silence would be my final reply. I got up early that morning and took a walk around the block. It was cold, crisp. I felt it in my lungs. That kind of cold that wakes something up inside you. I stopped at a coffee shop, ordered a black coffee, no sugar, no milk, and started writing a list. What needed to be undone? What needed to be transferred? What needed to be removed? By the time I returned to the hotel room, I had a full plan. Step by step. No drama. No noise. Kelly and I shared a few accounts. Some joint savings. Investment properties. A consulting studio we had launched 2 years ago. It was her idea, well, that's what she liked to tell people. In reality, I handled the paperwork, branding, financials, and back-end operations. She was the face. I was the foundation. She liked being seen. I liked making things work. And that's what made it so easy to begin. I logged into our bank accounts and initiated transfers, clean, methodical movements of money into accounts she no longer had access to. I wasn't stealing from her. Everything was traceable, legal, and tied to the structure I had built. I just stopped letting her benefit from what she didn't contribute to. Our shared credit card? Closed. The spare key fob to my office? Disabled. The home Wi-Fi? Password changed. Her email account linked to the business? Disconnected. Her name on the utilities? Removed. I wasn't loud about any of it. No warnings. No threats. Just quiet, decisive action. Felt strange how natural it was. Like I had been preparing for this without knowing it. Every time she overlooked me, every time she made me feel like a guest in my own life, I had stored that energy somewhere. Now I was using it. Then came the studio. Kelly believed she owned half of it. She told her friends she ran it, posted about it like it was her brainchild. But the paperwork, the contracts, the legal registration, that was me. Always had been. When we started, she didn't want to get bogged down with details. She let me handle it. So I did. And when I went through the incorporation documents that night, I smiled. Because technically, the company was listed as a sole proprietorship under my name. I had built it that way for simplicity. She had never noticed, never asked. I spent the next 2 hours restructuring the business under a new name. Same clients, same services, just rebranded and registered under a new consulting structure I'd already filed paperwork for months ago. Originally to expand. Now it had a new purpose. And she wouldn't even notice until it was too late. I hired a lawyer the next morning. Not for revenge. For protection. Quietly, I updated my will, my estate plan, and filed an intent to legally separate assets. I didn't file for divorce yet. Not because I wasn't ready, but because I wanted the legal foundation to be airtight when I did. It was no longer about hurting her. It was about ensuring she couldn't hurt me any further. I spent the next few days sleeping at the hotel, checking in on the house through our security app. She was still coming and going like nothing had changed. She texted a few times. "Hey, where are you? I'm starting to get worried. Please call me." Did something happen? I didn't reply. The silence was louder than anything I could have said. Midweek, I returned home briefly while she was at work. I moved fast, packed essentials, took personal files, grabbed backup drives, passwords, tax records, and sentimental things she probably wouldn't even notice missing until months later. My dad's watch, letters from my sister, a few old photos I'd tucked away in a drawer she never opened. I didn't take anything out of spite, only what was mine. By the time I walked back out the front door, the house looked exactly the same. Nothing flipped, nothing destroyed, but everything had changed. Later that evening, I sent one email. Subject: Transition. Just a simple business notice to our shared clients, explaining that I had stepped into a new role under a new banner. They didn't ask questions. They trusted me. After all, I was the one who answered their calls, managed their accounts, delivered the work. Kelly never saw it coming. She was still posting photos online. Filtered sh*ts of wine glasses and laptops, captioned with hashtags like #hustle and #bossenergy. She didn't realize that the business she was hashtagging no longer belonged to her. That was the beauty of it. No fights, no scenes, just a clean shift. I was cutting the rope, and she hadn't even felt the tension snap yet. Then came the final piece: the house. We had bought it together, but the mortgage had always been under my name. She didn't qualify at the time, and I covered the majority of the payments. I reached out to the lender, started the process of refinancing, and began the paperwork to transfer full title rights to me exclusively. The equity, also mine according to our prenup. Something she insisted we sign back then because she never wanted money to be a factor. It was about to become the only one. The studio she loved, rebranded. The house she decorated, reclaimed. The marriage she neglected, archived. And I hadn't even raised my voice. The night before the next business meeting, I sat on the balcony of my hotel room. It was quiet, wind brushing past like the closing breath of a chapter. I poured myself a glass of scotch, one of the rare ones I'd been saving for something important. This felt important. I thought I would feel sad, or angry, or broken, but all I felt was clear, like I had just stepped out of a fog I didn't know I was in. For so long, I had been trying to fix something that was never mine to repair. I gave her loyalty, patience, 1,000 second chances. She gave me excuses. Now I was giving her silence. And soon, she'd realize it was the loudest thing I'd ever said. The meeting was scheduled for Thursday at noon, an industry lunch/pitch session, hosted by one of our larger investors. It wasn't unusual. Kelly and I had attended these together for years. She always loved them, said it made her feel important, liked putting on the blazer, the lip gloss, the confident voice. She had a gift for presence, I'll give her that. When she walked into a room, she acted like she belonged there, whether she did or not. But this time, everything was different. This time, the room didn't belong to her. She didn't know that yet. She showed up exactly the way I expected, 30 minutes late, confidently unaware. Her heels clicked across the marble floor of the event center like punctuation marks, each step screaming certainty. I heard her before I saw her, laughing at something one of the assistants said, flipping her hair, carrying herself like she was still the brand owner she used to be. I sat at the long table near the front of the conference space, surrounded by executives, project leads, and consultants who had all been briefed ahead of time. Nobody looked her way when she entered. She wasn't on the attendance list. That's when I saw it. The shift in her face. It was small at first, just a twitch at the corner of her mouth, like her smile short-circuited for a second. Then her eyes moved down the table, scanning the nameplates. She was looking for hers. She didn't find it. Instead, she found mine. In the center of the table, bold print, Joshua Palmer, Managing Director. Her brows pulled together, confused. She blinked, adjusted her purse strap, and walked forward slowly, like maybe there'd been a mistake. I didn't move. I didn't smile. I didn't meet her halfway. She reached the table, set her hands lightly on the back of a chair, mine, not hers, and said, just loud enough for me to hear, "Why is your name on the director plate?" I looked up at her with the calmest expression I've ever worn. "It's always been there," I said. She didn't respond. Not right away. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She glanced at the man seated to my left, Mr. Crane, one of the early investors in our venture, and tried again. "I'm sorry, there must be a mix-up. I'm Kelly Palmer, co-founder and brand manager." Crane didn't even blink. He tapped the table once with his pen and said, "We're aware of who you are, Kelly." The tone wasn't rude, just final. She straightened up, now visibly unsettled. "Then why wasn't I invited to the board portion?" I was told this meeting was mandatory. Another man, Mendez, one of our financial consultants, spoke next. That invitation was sent prior to the restructuring. The updated leadership structure was filed last month. I believe you were removed from internal operations and project management oversight as of 3 weeks ago. Kelly looked directly at me now, eyes wide. You did this. I didn't answer. Crane cleared his throat. Control shifted quietly, Kelly. Nothing personal. Just business. Josh has had sole legal and operational authority since the restructuring. It's been handled cleanly, efficiently. She turned back to me, but I didn't move. I just let it sit. Everything she thought she controlled. Her position, her influence, the clients she claimed as hers. None of it remained. She hadn't noticed because I hadn't taken it from her all at once. I'd removed the scaffolding slowly, deliberately, piece by piece. By the time she noticed the collapse, the building was already gone. She backed away from the table, clearly fighting the urge to lash out. I knew that look, the restraint, the pride. She wasn't just shocked. She was embarrassed. And worse, she was realizing she had no one to blame but herself. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Would you like to stay for the presentation? I asked, still calm. Or would you prefer I have someone send you the deck? It wasn't sarcasm. It wasn't smugness. It was the tone of someone who had nothing left to prove. She opened her mouth, but Crane beat her to it. Let's proceed, he said, gesturing toward the screen behind me. Josh, you're up. And just like that, she was dismissed. I stood, walked to the head of the room, and clicked the remote in my hand. The screen lit up behind me with the new logo. One she hadn't seen before. One I'd designed without her. One that no longer had her name attached. For the next 20 minutes, I spoke with clarity. Confidence. Numbers. Growth projections. Client conversions. Investor returns. I didn't mention Kelly once. And she stayed. She sat down in the back row, alone, silent, small. I didn't look at her again. Not once. After the presentation, people clapped. Hands were shaken. Agreements were drafted. By the time the room emptied out, Kelly was still in the back, looking like she was trying to figure out how she had become a guest in her own narrative. I gathered my things slowly, deliberately. She walked up to me, eyes hollow but voice steady. You planned this. I prepared for it, I corrected. She didn't respond. Her jaw tightened, and I could see the part of her that wanted to scream, to cry, to rage. But she didn't. She just stood there, staring at someone she no longer recognized. You never said a word, she whispered. I didn't need to, I said. She blinked fast twice. You didn't even fight me. There was nothing left to fight for, I told her. You just didn't know it yet. And that was it. No shouting. No scandal. Just the quiet realization that she had underestimated me, because I had let her. She thought my silence meant weakness. She thought my loyalty meant blindness. What she didn't realize is that I saw everything. And I remembered everything. I didn't expose her. I didn't ruin her publicly. I didn't even mention the hotel or the man she let kiss her like I didn't exist. I didn't have to, because by the time I was finished, she had already lost everything she thought was hers. And she had done it all by herself. Kelly tried everything. She called friends, reached out to colleagues, even texted my sister, searching for someone who might explain what just happened. But no one gave her anything. No blame, no comfort, just silence. The truth had caught up to her, and it didn't come with fireworks. It came with the cold absence of power. She looked for legal loopholes, searched contracts she never bothered to read, tried to find flaws in the way I transferred ownerships and accounts. But everything was locked down, filed cleanly, ethically, and completely. No evidence of a fight. No trace of revenge. Just an empty space where her control used to be. She wasn't being punished. She was being excluded. A week later, my lawyer called. Kelly wanted to talk, to explain, maybe to apologize. I didn't take the call. I just passed a message through him. Tell her I'm glad she got to read the ending. No anger. No drama. Just finality. I closed the file, both legal and emotional. She had made her choices. I made mine. I didn't destroy the house. I didn't light the past on fire. I simply moved on, moved out, moved forward, to a life where her name no longer appeared. And no matter how loudly she knocked on the door she once walked through freely, it would never open again.